Hey everybody, how are you doing? Today I'm going to be making a video for new construction salespeople. So I had a new subscriber, I think, that had a question about, or asked if I could make a video on everything I wish I knew before I started selling new construction homes. And so I kind of put together a little list of some things that I wish I knew before I started. I think one of the biggest things is pricing, and you know, that's something that you're just going to end up learning with experience. But I love the fact that when I talk with somebody now, even on an initial phone call, I can kind of give them a ballpark price in, you know, what it's going to cost to build what they're telling me, which is very helpful, because if somebody wants to call and, you know, set up a meeting and they want to meet right away and go over things, they want to build a house, and then I go and I meet with them and they've got all these ideas for what they want to do, and I gather all the information and I get back to them, and the pricing is, you know, it's way out of their budget, we'll say that. It would be nice to be able to kind of get some of that information from somebody when I'm on the phone with them or emailing back and forth before we meet. Because when you meet with somebody, this is another good thing to know, budget 2 hours for every meeting. I find that almost every single meeting I have, I'm on my way to one right now, is 2 hours. So if you know that ahead of time and you're married and your husband or wife asks, you know, what time are you going to be home, and you have a 4:30 meeting, you can say, well, my meeting's not going to get done till 6:30 and I'll, you know, be home after that. So that's, I think that now that I've been doing this for a long time, it just seems like that's the average amount of time. But going back to the pricing, so I'm able to kind of vet people before I meet with them, which is definitely something that helps save time. You know, if I'm going to be meeting with somebody and spending 2 hours of my time with them, and we're going to get to the end of the meeting and find out that what they want to do is way out of their budget, well, it would have been nice for me to be able to let them know that ahead of time. And that would have ended up saving me a 2-hour meeting, because maybe at that point, once I tell them what a ballpark build cost is going to be for what they're telling me, you know, maybe they're going to need to kind of regroup and reconsider, and then they'll still maybe get back to me, but now they've got more of a a realistic idea as to what it's going to cost to build. So that's definitely something that I wish I would have knew before I started selling, but there was really no way for me to know that without getting experience. And, you know, I guess it is something that you can study up on. You can study up on the pricing. So if you're in new construction home sales and you've got base prices for your homes, you can even keep a little cheat sheet with you. And that's kind of what I use to give ballpark pricing off of. Because if somebody calls and we're talking and, you know, they want to do a 2,100 square foot ranch with, you know, 2.5 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, I can use one of our floor plans that I already know a base price of as kind of starting point pricing. And then I can kind of look and see, okay, you know, what are people usually adding to their, you know, to the base price of the home? What kind of upgrades are people usually doing? So if you've got a list of some of those most common things that people are doing in the home, and you know what that amount is, let's say it's $40,000, and you know what the base prices of your homes are. So if somebody is, even, you know, you're in the model or a spec home showing it, and you know what the base price of that home is, you know what the amount of the extras are in that home, you know what those extras amount to, you can tell somebody, you know, this is roughly what the cost is to build this home that you're standing in. People really like to instantly be able to know what something is and to be able to get a price for it. So I found that that's definitely something that I wish I would have known before I started selling. Now, here's something that I did know before I started selling, but if I didn't know this, I would have wished that I did. Did you follow all that? So before I sold and started selling new construction homes, I expedited homes. So I was the site or project manager for not only single family homes, but multifamily as well. So I put scheduling together, and I scheduled the excavator to come and dig, and the basement wall company to put the basement in, and so on and so forth throughout the entire process. And while scheduling, you're visiting the job sites, you're making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing as far as the subcontractors that are working on the house. You're answering phone calls and questions from them. You're getting them things that they need. And then you're also communicating with the customer, because the customer's going to go there. They're going to have questions. Yeah, why wasn't anybody at the house today? Why hasn't anything been done in 2? So you're getting skills on, working with the customer from, the side of things after they're done being sold the house. And you're basically just gaining a lot of knowledge as to how a home is built. And because of that, I felt that I was able to answer a lot of questions that people had when somebody first comes in and starts asking questions, and they want to build a house. A lot of the questions are, maybe you'll find that people ask a lot of the same questions. So again, just like your upgrades cheat sheet and knowing what that amount is for those most common upgrades that people are putting in their house, maybe have something for questions that people are commonly asking about new construction. So one of the most common questions people ask, what kind of windows are these? How is the exterior wall constructed? What type of insulation value do I have? Those are, right now, those are things that people are really interested in and want to know how efficient the home is. Is this 2x4 or 2x6 construction? So there's things like that. And as you start to do more and more open houses and meet with more and more people, you're going to start hearing a lot of the same questions. So write those questions down and get good at answering those questions. And there's still going to be questions that come up that you can't answer, but those are good too, because that gives you a reason to get back to somebody and follow up with them, maybe a little sooner than you normally would. And hey, just wanted to get back to you, so on and so forth. But, knowing, and again, I knew this because of what I did before that, but if I had not expedited homes before I started selling homes, I would definitely want to be familiar with some of the terminology in the houses, be able to walk a client through a home that is not completed, that's, in the rough, and be able to point things out, like that's where the fridge is going to go. And I know that because I can see that the water line is stubbed there. Or that's where the stove is going to go, and I know that because I can see there's a gas stub there, and there's a vent above there for the range hood, and be able to answer those certain types of questions there. One of the biggest things I wish I knew before I started selling was how important it is to properly budget my income. If you're starting to sell new construction homes or real estate, a lot of times I was 100% commission. I know with some builders, maybe they're 80% commission, and they still pay a weekly small salary. So whether you're 100% commission or you're just partial percentage commission, either way, that means that you're responsible for taking your taxes out of your commission checks. And when I first started, I started off slow. It was 2008. The housing market was horrible. We had just crashed, huge crash. So I took all of my commissions and I spent it all. And it wasn't that I was just, foolishly wasting money. It was because I was making so much more than that the years prior. And then I started to sell new construction homes, and I think I made, 27 to 30,000 the first year. And that was far less than what I was making before that. So I had to I used all of that money towards bills and living expenses. And what I should have done was put taxes away like you normally would if you were getting paid from an employer. So if you are 100% commission, whatever percentage commission you are, make sure you're taking out, 25, 30%, whatever that percentage is, so that at the end of the year, or you should actually be paying taxes quarterly. That's the best way to kind of keep current with things. But that way you ensure that at the end of the year, you don't owe a ton of money. So because I got into that bad habit for the first year, and it probably would have been okay had I just done it that first year. But like all bad habits, I continued to do it. So I did it the next year and the next year. And I was making really, really good money and not putting anything away for taxes. I would get my check, deposit it. I would, plan that I was going to save some and put some away, and I would just end up spending it. And I fell really far behind with that. So I wish that I would have implemented a good budgeting strategy and plan from the get-go, and I wouldn't have had to dig myself out of the hole that I did. And the way to do, so I'll put a link to another video where I describe exactly how to do that and how you should set yourself up there. But I wish, that's probably my biggest regret, is not having that set up before I started. Okay, a couple more things. I'm sure I could come up with an endless list, but all good things must come to an end. So one of the other things I wish I would have known before I started selling was that people aren't going to walk away from you if you give them bad news, which means I was always so afraid when I started to have to be the bearer of bad news. What you want to do and what you want to build, it's going to cost you $400,000, $500,000 when they initially had come in and said that their budget was, $50,000 less than that. So the mistake that I made in the past is that there were things that I would try to, cut down or shave down on that ended up coming back to kind of bite me in the butt down the road in the process, because I didn't want the client to walk away or the potential customer to walk away. They told me a number where they wanted to be at price range, and I'm going back to them and I'm way over that number, and I was afraid to do that. Well, now that I've been doing this, for as many years as I have been, I'm not afraid of that anymore. The price is what the price is. And a lot of times people just have sticker shock and they need to get over it. They don't know what a realistic cost is to build what they want to build. So once you go ahead then and break the bad news of what that build cost is, now they know. They can kind of have a bit of a paradigm shift. They came into this thinking that, my max budget is 400 and I want to get all this for 400, but now they know that that's not realistic. So now they've accepted that. They're willing to move forward with that. So 9 times out of 10, somebody is not going to walk away because you're giving them, pricing that they don't want to hear. Or on the other hand, you've already done initial pricing with somebody, you're working with them, you continue to have meetings with them, and they, are very adamant that they want to stay at a certain price point, but yet they keep making changes and they keep adding things and they subtract things, but the things that they're subtracting are nowhere near as even as what some of the things that they're adding are. So they're thinking, well, we removed a door, but they added another tile shower in the bathroom. So they're thinking, in their heads, well, that should be like an even swap. Well, no, it's not. So you're giving them the bad news that, okay, we were at this number, but now with all of these changes, we're at this number. And, a lot of times people will say, well, that's just not going to work. We need to find a way to get down to this number or we're not going to do it. And I used to always cave to that. Okay, well, let me see what we could do here. And I would go and talk to my dad. Hey, Dad, is there anything that we can do? Can we knock, some money off the base price? Don't concede. There were even times where I remember the first home that I sold, the buyers were playing hardball. I had no experience whatsoever. So this was an existing spec home that I sold. And these buyers were just adamant that they could not spend a dime over this certain amount. And I was so anxious to make that first sale that I ended up cutting a couple $1,000s from my commission that I would have normally have been paid. So, and I was fine at the moment when I made that decision. I said, you know what? Okay, so I'll make I'll make, this much money for commission as opposed to this much. No problem. I'm going to get my first sale. I'm psyched. I'm pumped. Well, what ends up happening after you decide to do that is you think, okay, you know what? I'll cut $1,000 off of my commission just to make them happy. And then they go and they end up adding this, that, or the other. They end up spending way more than that $1,000, and you end up having to put in a ton more work. So with this home, this was a ready-built home, so there wasn't anything that they could add into the home. So they bought the home for the amount that we agreed upon. I cut my commission by $2,000. So from the time you get an accepted offer until the time that they close on the house and they take ownership of the house, there's all kinds of things that can happen. So once you get the accepted offer, or once you get that commitment with somebody that they're going to be building, that is not the time to celebrate. Don't count your eggs before they hatch. That's definitely a whole nother thing that I wish I would have known before I started. I would get a commitment from somebody and I would already start counting the money for my commission. But nothing is closed and final until it's closed and final. So don't cut yourself short on certain things, because when you do that, every time I've done it and I've said that, okay, you know what, I'll take a little bit less of a commission, then they end up adding all of this stuff. So say we're at 355 and they are adamant that they're not going to move ahead with doing this unless they can get down to 353. And how ridiculous. If you think back on that, really, they're going to walk away from $2,000, but they're adamant. They got to get from 355 to 353 or they're not moving ahead. You decide to cut your commission by $2,000. You're still not at the point where you have a building contract. Now they go do their selections. They're upgrading this, they're upgrading that. They're at 365. So what did you cut your commission for? Absolutely nothing. Now you feel foolish because you cut your commission. Now you know that they were moving ahead either way, but buyers they're gonna play hardball. They're gonna negotiate. They want to get things for the lowest possible cost that they can. So just know they're not gonna walk away. If you give them a price of $375 and they say we have to be at $360 or we're not moving ahead, do not concede. Hey, this is the best that I can do. The home that you want to build is $375, and make sure that you are telling them and showing them and providing them all the information that they need in order to see the value in that number. You shouldn't be cutting your cost. You should be making sure that they're seeing the value. Every little thing that you do that's different from the others, or every little thing that you do that is special or that you think adds quality and value to the home, those are the things that you need to point out. That way you can, $375, I'm sorry, that's the best price that we can do for what we offer. And 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna walk away. I know in the beginning, it's scary. You don't wanna lose anybody, especially for that first one. You wanna make that first sale, you wanna get broken in, but just know 9 times out of 10, it's all talk. They're not going anywhere. They're too far in the process. If they know you, they like you, they trust you, really, they're gonna walk away from a $400,000 build because it's $5,000 over budget. Sometimes you just gotta kind of take a step back and look at it that way. The final thing is, once you get into this and you start to get really busy, if you're good at this, you're gonna be busy. Right now, I'm at a point where I can never keep up with the amount of phone calls and emails that I get. There's no way in one day I can return every phone call, every email, and get everything done on my list that I need to get done, like getting pricing back to people, submitting notes for a new preliminary plan, meeting with people. There's no way I can do it all every day. And I used to get really, really overwhelmed. And I'm in a really good place right now where I'm really having fun with what I do. I'm enjoying what I do. And basically, I have just been saying to myself, I'm going to get done everything that I can get done, and then that's it. I'm not going to think about it anymore. In the mornings, I remember I'd be in the bathroom getting ready, and I would start to think about all the things that I have to do, right? Or my phone would ring. you know, and I would let it go to voicemail because I need to finish getting ready so I can get started with my day. And so, you know, the phone would ring and maybe I would just play the message to see what it was all about. And that would get my mind racing. Oh man, I got to do that, but then I have to do this and I got to do this. So you're thinking about all this stuff that you have to do and you're starting to get stressed. And I've got a family, I've got little ones, I've got a wife, and the time that I'm spending with them is my time with them. So if I'm thinking about all the things that I have to do, all these different things that I have to do, I'm starting to get stressed and I'm a little short fused and short tempered. And then, you know, that's no good. So just remember, one of the biggest things, if you just don't think about everything that you have to do until you start to do it, because it does you no good anyways. It does no good to think about everything that you have to do and start feeling overwhelmed when you're getting ready. Because when you're in the shower, there's nothing you can do about it anyways. Just, I guess, kind of put it into that perspective. Just know that it does no good to worry about what you have to do or think about everything that you have to do when you're not in a place where you can actually act on it. Wait until you get into the office, until you sit down to your desk, until you get into your vehicle, and then get to work. Make the phone calls. Then you can really start to hammer down and get things done. Okay, that's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it useful. If you're in new construction home sales, or if you're starting off a new construction home building company and you're doing the sales, these are things that you may find useful. So give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't, click the little bell for notifications so you know when I put out more videos like this. Thank you.